mutima uwakweteko basata ukuchilo kuchula 5 years to 10 years out wa mipapata and I give you new PM80 brand mundubire
wakufikisa fyonse fintu ababantu balesha baonaula tabawapo vyawamepo baishire fintu fyonse muchalo balionaula and I give you new PM80 brand mundubire
uyu muntu abombela abantu nontu kupoke fintu fyabantu amajela boys bari fulwa ama minlos dibiri but kulya kantu enalepa mona akabombela po PM80 brani mundubire
amaritari sibalemi mona bashima famu balisheni PM80 brani mundubire
we need the man of action no mutima uwakweteko basata ukuchilo kuchula 5 years to 10 years out wa mipapata and I give you new PM80 brani mundubire
wakufikisa fyonse fintu ababantu balesha baonaula tabawapo vyawamepo baishire fintu fyonse muchalo balionaula and I give you new PM80 brani mundubire
Edgar Chagwa lungu infrastructure aliuma
parliament sanitire bwela na judicial system ala fi kontolola
mutwe na mano
unity muchalo
mwemisepela shinensu seni twikatane bonse tuma na kapi
akatupere kwenchitone filongoma bayuthi nishitwa senda
akafibwesha munomo
ichalo chonse
we need the man of action no mutima uwakweteko basata ukuchilo kuchula 5 years to 10 years out wa mipapata and I give you new PM80 brani mundubire
wakufikisa fyonse fintu ababantu balesha baonaula tabawapo vyawamepo baishire fintu fyonse muchalo balionaula and I give you new PM80 brani mundubire
ifintu kuchinja nyapa muvotele wishive chapa walubuka ngakamana ka red sea kashupilo kwa bukapa chapa wayabuka ndekweba muntu wa mirimo PM80 brani mundubire
meza bakwisa ferionse batu bepaika nga bapita fyabo nokutumva baleka pechikulu tulefwaya ifwe ni fesi furida nakwata na oda banaini entungurushi PM8 brani mundubire
we need the man of action no mutima uwakweteko basata ukuchilo kuchula 5 years to 10 years out wa mipapata and I give you new PM80 brani mundubire
wakufikisa fyonse fintu ababantu balesha baonaula tabawapo vyawamepo baishire fintu fyonse muchalo balionaula and I give you new PM80 brani mundubire
uyu muntu abombela abantu nontu kupoke fintu fyabantu amajela boys bari fulwa ama minlos dibiri but kulya kantu enalepa mona akabombela po PM80 brani mundubire
amaritari sibalemi mona bashima famu balemi mona banakuluko kakeni chitenge beniko na banenu apo pa chitente niloya na vision PM8 brani mundubire
we need the man of action no mutima uwakweteko basata ukuchilo kuchula 5 years to 10 years out wa mipapata and I give you new PM80
vyonse fintu ababantu balesha baonaula tababapo vyawame babaishire fintu vyonse muchalo balionaula and I give you new BM80 Grani
Minine pano ndi mwana wa kwa lungu ndi mwana wa kwa sata nefyo iminine po etwa iminine po cha kusumbula balanda manifesto twala konkanyapo nayo kwa Zambia ngakwabe chinto chomfulwa ine muntu achusha balanda pantona nalichulapo nefyo buchusu bumfika nalishiwa echo limodimo ndolesha fenati na ibwelamo ifi ba HH na ba UPND wale chusha balanda eko muntu engesatila BM8 ni compromise ni project wa UPND ine uyu achusha abantu ifi uyu muntu tombo kulwa nankwe from 2021 umulando wa kuchusha abalanda lelo ba MP abamumwene ba MCC abamumwene na imwe ni wikeli hapa kakwikata pate nicho mwanisa kama na machusha abalanda teti mwe mumfu anepo na UPND yo kantu pili tata kama na balanda abo baleti kwa BM8 abantu bakwe ni project ya UPND mkwa ichabulanda balwa ni babuya ntanshabo ine ndefo kubeba ko message imo epo twalushira ma election ndefo muyumfuile nangubushi kubumo ichatala mwana hapo na HH no kwekala nchaishiba nangubushi kubumo nangu ni phone call na namba yako ishakwata nangubushi kubumo kutuma umuntu atikana ndile kuri president ama business watu na wilaya fula ngatu waliba kusta compromise ngakale twaya nomba twalisaka na balanda ubu sikufenga kumana na HH ni next year ilo akalashita hand over power kwa independent state and community
which will be academic constituencies in their strongholds. And that's where the contention comes in.
Shame.
Because if it was non-contentious, why did they not respect the report of 2019 from ECZ? So when we say that this is highly contentious, had there been a consultative process, the people would have demanded to know exactly which constituencies were up for delimitation. So it would be folly for anyone, including our own MPs, to accept or agree on this process and later discover that they've been ignored. So we, as opposition members of parliament, we want to make it categorically clear. We will not be part of that flawed process. That is a non-constitutional constitutional amendment process. That's exactly what has happened. If it was constitutional, it was going to be people driven. This is a process that is started by the UPND, doctored by the UPND, and concluded by the UPND. If anybody listen, there's nothing. I mean, the Minister of Justice, they are even controlling the parliamentary process. They have set the timetable for Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker was there listening. You know, they are presenting a timetable for Parliament. A select committee for Parliament.
How did she know?
Yeah, so Comrade Sanga, I stand here as a very sad constitutional lawyer who, you know, has witnessed what is called a coup d'etat, a constitutional coup d'etat. Yeah. So, Comrade Sang, I think you may wish to just
Thank you. Thank you, the opposition. I'm actually, just like you, I'm a very worried politician, I'm a very worried lawyer, and I'm a very worried scholar of constitutionalism in the country. We are witnessing today the darkest day in constitution making in the country. That you have a group of people calling themselves a political party, wanting to bankroll a program of rewriting our constitution. The earlier stories you heard were that people were consulted. Contrary to what they were saying, it is now that the minister was saying people are going to be consulted to garner consensus. By the time they were supposed to have come to the House, they should have had a people's participation into the program. So that when they're announcing the program which was being announced today, they would have said the input that came from the people is this and the other. The minister was kind enough to actually mention some groups that were consulted. But it's on record the press has already reported that those who are consulted have already said they don't want this process to be undertaken. So who are they doing it for? Because if you talk about the church has said no. If you talk about this political party here, we've said no. If you talk about CSOs which are credible, they've all said no. Even some individuals have gone to the press to go and mention that the way the UPND is going about amending this constitution, is incorrect. We should not do it. Others have even pleaded, can we just go to the election using the current constitution, which even ushered in the UPND into power? Why can't we hold the election with this current constitution and consider maybe amendments, next after the election? But what was even much more gregarious today was how the speaker.
Hey, we need a man of action no mutima uwakwetako basata ukuchilo kuchula 5 years to 10 years out wa mipapata and I give you new PM80 brand mundubire
wakufikisa vyonse fintu ababantu balesha baonaula tabawapofya wamepo baishire fintu vyonse muchalo balionaula and I give you new PM80 brani mundubire
ifintu kuchinja nyapa muvotele wishive chapa walubuka ngakamana ka red sea kashupilo kwa bukapa chapa wayabuka ndekweba muntu wa mirimo PM80 brani mundubire
bakwisa ferionse batu bepaika nga bapita fyabo nokutumva baleka pechikulu tulefwaya ifwe ni fesi furida nakwata na oda ba9 entungurushi PM8 brani mundubire
we need the man of action no mutima uwakwetako basata ukuchilo kuchula 5 years to 10 years out wa mipapata and I give you new PM80 brani mundubire
wakufikisa vyonse fintu ababantu balesha baonaula tabawapofya wamepo baishire fintu vyonse muchalo balionaula and I give you new PM80 brani mundubire
uyu muntu abombela abantu nontu kupoke fintu fyabantu amajela boys barifulwa amaminlos dibiri but kulya kantu enalepa mona akabombela po PM80 brani mundubire
amaritarisi balemi mona bashima famu balemi mona banakuluko kakeni chitenge beniko na banenu apo pa chitente niloya na vision PM8 brani mundubire
we need the man of action no mutima uwakwetako basata ukuchilo kuchula 5 years to 10 years out wa mipapata and I give you new PM80 brani mundubire
wakufikisa vyonse fintu ababantu balesha baonaula tabawapofya wamepo baishire fintu vyonse muchalo balionaula and I give you new PM80 brani mundubire
chagwa lungu infrastructure aliuma
parliament sanitire bwela na judicial system ala fi kontolola
mutwe na mano unity muchalo mwemisepela shinesu seni twikatane bonse tumana kapi
akatupere kwenchitone filongoma bayuthi nishitwa senda propaganda tokana
akafibwesha munomo
ichalo chonse.
Wonderful day. Today we are on time. Thursday, the 4th of December, 2025. We are glad that you can join us. Share the broadcast. Share, comment, share, and tell us where you are calling from. And tell us, I hope the network is doing very well. But we are prepared for you to join us in this discussion. We're privileged that today we are hosting Brian Mundubile. Is former Minister for Northern Province, is former Chief Whip, and is former Chairperson for the ERB. Is also current Member of Parliament from Porokoso, and is one of the PF presidential candidates. So share the broadcast, share. There'll be a time when you'll be joining us. I'll be inviting Honorable Brian Mundubile to join us quickly.
Hey, we need the man of action no mutima owakwetako basata okuchilo kuchula 5 years to 10 years out wa mipapata and I give you new PM80 Brandi Mundubile
Wakufikisa fyonse fintu ababantu balesha baonaula Tabawa povya wamepa vaishire fintu fyonse muchalo balionaula and I give you new PM80 Brandi Mundubile
ifintu kuchinja nyapa muvotele wishibe chapa walubuka ngakamana ka red sea kashupilo kwa bukapa chapa wayabuka ndekweba muntu wa mirimo PM80 Brandi Mundubile
bakwisa ferionse batu bepaika nga bapita fyabo nokutumva baleka pechikulu tulefwaya ifwe ni feti furida nakwata na oda banine entungurushi PM8 Brandi Mundubile
we need the man of action no mutima owakwetako basata okuchilo kuchula 5 years to 10 years out wa mipapata and I give you new PM80 Brandi Mundubile
wakufikisa fyonse fintu ababantu balesha baonaula tabawa povya wamepa vaishire fintu fyonse muchalo balionaula and I give you new PM80 Brandi Mundubile
uyu muntu abombela abantu nontu kupoke fintu fyabantu amajela boys bari fulwa ama minilos dibiri but kulya kantu enalepa mona akabombela po PM80 Brandi Mundubile
amalitarisi balembi mona bashima famu balembi mona banakuluko kakeni chitenge beniko na baneno apo pa chitente niroya na vision PM8 Brandi Mundubile
we need the man of action no mutima owakwetako basata okuchilo kuchula 5 years to 10 years out wa mipapata and I give you new PM80 Brandi Mundubile
wakufikisa fyonse fintu ababantu balesha baonaula tabawa povya wamepa vaishire fintu fyonse muchalo balionaula and I give you new PM80 Brandi Mundubile
Edgar Chagwalungu infrastructure aliuma
Parliament sanitire bwela na judicial system ala fi kontolola
mutwe na mano unity muchalo mwemisepela shinens.
Thank you very much. Today we are hosting Honorable Brian Mundubile. Is former Energy Regulation Board Chairperson, is former Minister of Northern Province, is former Chief Whip. He was at the center of Bill 10 and will be able to help us learn from the current crisis we have with Bill 7 and what's wrong with it. Let me bring Honorable Brian Munduvile and welcome him to the program. Honorable Munduvile, welcome to the program and good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ambassador. It's also good to see you.
Thank you very much. You've been very instrumental as a leading voice in Parliament. You've been very instrumental as one of the voices in the Patriotic Front. And we have this issue of Bill 7. And I just wanted us to start from there. Kindly do a recap. What's the difference between Bill 10 and Bill 7? Why is Bill 7 being deemed as perilous for the nation and maybe not Bill 10? Just draw the parallels for us as we start the debate.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Ambassador. To start with, in order for us to properly discuss the concerns surrounding Bill 7, it's important to understand that in constitution making, the process is as important as the constitution. So when you look at what we are calling maybe new constitutionalism, there are certain fundamental principles that must be observed when amending a constitution. These will be transparency, broad public participation, legal framework, inclusivity, among others. So what that means is that in amending a constitution, you'll have to ensure, firstly, that there is broad public participation. And I'll explain why. It's important for that process to go through broad public participation because a constitution ideally is for the people. It's the people's document. When you read the preamble, it talks about we, the people. So it starts with the people and ends with the people. So without broad public participation in that particular process, before you even go to the content, it means that that particular constitution that you're talking about is not from the people. And that is one concern that has been raised in the constitution amendment process for Bill 7. You remember, Ambassador, that even the court, the CONCORT, brought up that concern that there was no consultation. There was no broad public participation. So before we even talk about the content, we needed to look at the process outlined is some of the fundamental principles that govern a good constitution-making process. So this is where we are, and this is what the problem has been. A brief background to Bill 7. You remember, I think it was on the 8th of March, the president appeared at some public gathering, it should have been Women's Day, when he informed the nation that he had agreed with the women, it should be amended. He again went to Mongu and referred to the youths that he had agreed with the youths to amend the constitution. So clearly, when all that was happening, we actually laughed it off because that is not how we amend the constitution. And we thought that with the many voices risen, we thought he would actually abandon the process. But we later discovered he was very determined, he was very serious, he went ahead and came up with a constitution amendment bill, which was crafted by President Hakainde Hichilema himself with maybe one or two friends. So these are our concerns. That particular bill was not crafted or assembled by the Zambian people or indeed other stakeholders like the churches, the clergy, professional bodies, CSOs, among others. This is a bill that has come from the UPND and specifically from President Hakainde Hichilema. That's the reason why there's been resistance and apprehension against this particular process.
What was done differently with Bill 10 and what was hasn't been done in Bill 7? Yeah, thank you, Brian. Thank you, Honorable Munduwili. I was stating that what was done with Bill 10, because the UPND rejected Bill 10 on the assertion that it was not inclusive, that it didn't represent the will of the people, that the PF merely wanted to extend their stay. What's different with Bill 7? I know you've explained on the consultative process. What was done, for example, to what length did the previous government go to ensure that the process had a legal foundation and was consultative? Even if it failed in Parliament, you could see that there were efforts done.
Yes, thank you, Ambassador. I'll take you back to 2016. After the disputed 2016 results, there was tension in the country. There was seemingly a standoff between the major opposition political party, being UPND, and the PF. President Edgar Chagwa called for dialogue. He asked the Zambian people to sit down and dialogue, try and reduce that tension. So many stakeholders that included CSOs, churches, professional bodies, gathered at Mulungushi Conference Center. They held what was called a National Democratic Stakeholders Conference, a stakeholder summit. Out of that summit, it was agreed by the stakeholders. They identified two key stakeholders that seemed to have been at the center of that tension. They actually advised and guided that political parties should isolate themselves from that meeting for a moment and take time to go and sit somewhere to iron out the differences. Then they can come back and sit with other stakeholders. As political parties, Ambassador, I think you remember, we went to Siavonga. The representation was at Secretary General level. I was one of those that went to Siavonga. UPND was represented. There were 15, 16 other political parties. It was out of that meeting that we came out with 4 thematic areas that bordered on constitution amendments. So as stakeholders, we agreed that there was need to amend the constitution. And as a matter of fact, that particular accord, the communique that was signed in Siavonga, was actually drafted by the current Minister of Justice, Comrade together with Mr. Cholo Beani. We were very deliberate. We asked them to come up with a draft so that they did not depart from the common position that the political parties would take. So after that, Ministry of Justice started the process. Ministry of Justice went around the country collecting views from the Zambian people concerning the constitution. After that, the Minister of Justice came to Parliament with a roadmap to the constitution amendment process. Now, if you look at the fundamental principles that I talked about, Ambassador, one of them was the legal framework. So what Honorable Given Lubinda, as Minister of Justice, then did, he brought a bill to Parliament to legislate the process of constitution amendment. By that time, the key stakeholders, being the NDSS, National Democratic Stakeholder Summit, political parties, and other citizens generally, through Ministry of Justice, had agreed to amend the constitution. I think that was the starting point. There was general consensus on the need to amend the constitution. What followed? Government's role was to facilitate the process of amending the constitution. So the people that proposed to amend the constitution were as outlined. I mean, the stakeholders at NDSS, the political parties in Siavonga, and the citizens generally. So once that process commenced, the role of government was just to facilitate the process. So Comrade Given Lubinda in Parliament with a bill to legislate the process of amending that constitution. So it was out of that process that came the National Dialogue Act. And the National Dialogue Act was a governing law to the National Dialogue Forum. So to be able to build trust among the stakeholders, the process leading up to Constitutional Amendment Bill number 10 was actually backed by law. The National Dialogue Forum, a forum which actually came up with the bill, was also governed by law. So if you ask me, Ambassador, about the difference is that Bill 10 came from the people. If you remember, when the actual bill was being drafted, the process was broadcast live before national television. We went clause by clause on national television, meaning that if we went to a particular clause that required amendment, the people in Mporokoso could actually send me a text and say, by MP, our position on that particular clause is ABCD. So it was one, transparent. The process was very transparent. It was backed, the roadmap was backed by law. There was broad-based public participation, and the process was accountable. So there's a difference between the process through which Bill 10 was implemented and indeed that of Bill 7.
Yeah. Today, Honorable Brian Mundubile, you must have seen a statement from State House insisting that Bill 7 is so flawless, and they've challenged both you, the stakeholders, and citizens to point out which clauses among the 13 they're proposing is harmful or is bad for our country. And essentially, they are challenging that the constitutional making process is clean and people are being malicious. And I think this statement arises from the mindset of the president, who accused all the stakeholders last week that you merely do not like him. You hate him because of where he comes from and where he was born. Unfortunate remarks condemned by all. But if you see today's statements, they're literally saying the process is flawed and therefore the opposition is just being malicious. What do you say to that? Why are there so much concerns around Bill 7? I think we need to get to that emphasis.
Like I pointed out earlier, the process is as important as the content. So maybe before State House takes us to start discussing the content, the question that we have for President Hakainde Hichilema, who came up with those constitutional amendments? We want to understand, is there an emergency? Where was the outcry? Who actually came up with those particular clauses? That's a major question. Remember, Comrade Mwamba, that when you look at the Constitution, it's very different from ordinary legislation. A Constitution, besides being a power map, a Constitution is ideally there to discipline government. A Constitution disciplines especially dishonest governments. That is the reason why the Constitution Amendment Bill should not originate from government. That Constitution is supposed to be there to check the excesses in the exercise of power by President Hakainde Hichilema. But if we allow him to be the one to come up with a bill, then there's something wrong already. So before we even begin to itemize individual clauses, the question I have for President Hakainde Hichilema, who came up with those clauses in the Constitution? So it must be noted, Comrade Emmanuel Mwamba, that the process in this particular case is something that we started by questioning. This amendment process is supposed to be owned and driven by independent people, churches, civil society organizations, professional bodies, and among others. But in this particular case, the actual clauses, the amendment process, there's been no process, first of all, to start with. There was a jump right from the beginning. All that we received were clauses that were being presented for amendment. So the question is, who originated these particular clauses? So it must be noted, State House must be advised that first of all, the process never seen before in this country. Even the time that we're criticizing the processes that were started by the Inquiries Act through commissions of inquiry, we found some shortcomings. And I think that in this wave of constitution making, which we are calling Wave 4, we inculcated certain values, certain principles, fundamental principles, immutable principles in constitution making, so that the interests and aspirations of the people that the constitution is meant to save are safeguarded. But this was not done in this particular case of Bill 7. It must also be noted very early that at law, Bill 7 actually doesn't exist. Even as we discuss it, I must come out very early that after the Concord judgment, Bill 7 actually does not exist at law, because the court ruled to say and decided that the process leading up to Constitution Amendment Bill number 7 was actually unconstitutional. So in this particular case, yes, we have to talk about it, to try and defend our Constitution. But it must be noted also that even as we discuss Bill 7, Bill 7 actually does not exist at law. So before we talk about, say, delimitation, because Comrade Hamasaka would want to know, let's talk about delimitation. Delimitation is highly contentious. In this particular case, it's one of the clauses that are
Honorable Munduwile.
Constituencies.
Yeah, thank you.
We do not even know with this constituency.
Thank you, Honorable Munduwile.
We don't even know the basis of coming up.
I want to take a small break. I want to take a small break, just I resolve just some issues of his. Honorable Munduwile, I want to take just a small break. I think we bring your microphone up. I monitor my broadcast live, and people are saying the volume on your side is a bit low. So I guess we'll lift your microphone a bit up. So let me just take a small break and allow the technical staff to do that.
You need to support it because you mayors, some of you have done 2 terms already. If we don't amend that constitution, you will be removed even though you are a good mayor or a good council chairperson. We are proposing that we should remove the term limit for council chairpersons and for mayors, you who are seated here, so that you can continue if the people want you, isn't it? As the councillor does, as the MP does, so is yourselves. Well, I can't hear you, but you hear me. So the deferment of the constitutional amendment is not postponement.
Clearly, Bill 7 is up for sale. As you can see, the president threatening most members of, mayors and council chairperson whose mandate they've served 2 terms. They've limited terms like that of the president. The president there was telling them to, support Bill 7 because their term has come to an end. Let me invite Honorable Brian Munduwile once again. Honorable Munduwile, the matter, I think, has been to court. The Constitutional Court ruled that Bill 7 literally squashed it, that it didn't follow process, it was illegal, it broke so many constitutional clauses. Sadly and stubbornly, the Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Nelly Mutim, and the President and the Minister of Justice refused to withdraw it despite the court order. In fact, it appears that the process that has taken place of forming a technical committee, creating this so-called consultative process, coming up with a draft report and draft constitution, all of a sudden seems to be in vain because they've just relieved Bill 7 in Parliament. Just speak to this issue of illegality, because I heard you say, in fact, Bill 7 is dead. You made it very clear. Just elaborate on that.
In line with a court judgment, that was decided by the Constitutional Court, at law, Bill 7 is dead. Bill 7 does not exist. So when the Speaker of the National Assembly made a ruling that sponsor of Bill 7 could actually represent it on the floor of the House, that seemed to have been a contradiction to the path that the President had taken. By that time, the President had already appointed, had started the process through the technical committee. So essentially, what we gathered was that when the President saw the court judgment, he realized that Bill 7 was actually dead, and he commenced a new process. What was expected out of the technical committee was that after their consultations, they were to produce, they were supposed to come up with a new bill, which bill was supposed to go through the normal process of being gazetted for 30 days before being presented to Parliament. But then we were suspicious when the Speaker, and indeed the sponsor of that bill, resisted the bill from Parliament. So this was a very unusual process, Ambassador. We had a bill in Parliament, but we also had a process surrounding that bill that was commenced by the executive. So this particular process was being dealt with by the two arms of government. Whilst the other bill was in Parliament but deferred, a process was commenced by the executive to try and consult citizens generally on this particular process. So the position the Speaker took contradicted the position the President took. The President in that case seemed to have realized that the earlier process was flawed and decided to start a new process by putting up this technical committee that will now go around to gather views and indeed contribute to this particular process. Whilst on the other hand, the Speaker was insisting that that particular bill was alive. Yeah, so we have now come to realize that the same bill, the dead Bill 7, is the one that has been brought back to life through a very unusual process. We did not expect that bill to come back to the floor of the House in the same state as it was when it was declared to be unconstitutional.
Oh. You can proceed, Honorable Mundubile. You can, I can hear you.
Yes, I have just concluded on a point. I was submitting on the issue of the bill being in Parliament and resuscitated, the bill 7 resuscitated and presented back on the floor of the House, whilst on the other hand, the technical committee handed over a report to the President. The point I make there is that when you look at the move the President took, the President seemed to have agreed that Bill 7 was dead and decided to commence a new process altogether. And commencement of that new process was in line with the recommendations made by the courts, which were that the process needed a broad public participation. So we saw an attempt by this technical committee of going around the country to try and get views around these particular amendments. Of course, Ambassador, I must be quick to mention that even the way that the technical committee proceeded, not the correct way of going about it. You see, when amending the Constitution, first of all, the question that we ask is that we are dealing with clauses under Bill 7. Who came up with those clauses is a big question. Under normal circumstances, stakeholders meet. The first thing they do is to agree that there is need to amend the Constitution, as the case was in Bill 10. Stakeholders met and agreed that there was need to amend the Constitution. Once you have agreed to amend the Constitution, as stakeholders, you also agree on the extent, the scope of amendment. To what extent would you want these amendments to be? Once you have agreed, then you go further and agree on the design. You agree on the adoption process. You agree on the consultative process. You agree on the roadmap generally. Once you have agreed on all this, that is when you bring in government to facilitate the processes that have been agreed upon by the stakeholders. So ordinarily, even in the case of this technical committee, the misfortune is that the technical committee took the same Bill 7, just removed the numbering, and went to the same document to force it, upon the people to say, this is what we have, what do you think? The stakeholders were actually not given the freedom, the liberty to come up with what they thought needed to be amended. They still continued with the same clauses that President Hakainde Hichilema came up with. So even in that case, this was not the proper way of carrying out those consultations, or indeed, coming up with a new process altogether. It was the same Bill 7. So there was really nothing new, because the people that were consulted were not given the freedom to express themselves on what exactly they would have intended in the Constitution.
The elephant in the room is you've been privileged to be, leader of the opposition in Parliament. President Hakainde Hichilema and the UPND do not have the numbers in Parliament to pass this law. They have, I think, about 97 MPs. The Patriotic Front has 55 MPs, and we've got about 10 independents. You need 111 MPs to vote for this. So President Hakainde Hichilema appears, and the UPND appear to bank on the goodwill of the independents and some members from the Patriotic Front. Earlier, before people even watched the broadcast, I was playing, as we're beginning, I was playing your very strong remarks against Bill 7. And you were rallying the troops that Bill 7 is harmful for our country. And I'll probably will play that video. There is fear from stakeholders, from Oasis Forum, from the members of the public. Even when we open phone lines, they'll bring this issue. This process will only pass because the Patriotic Front and the independents will have supported it. What is your view? What is the assertions? There's so many allegations that money is flying around. There are threats against certain members of parliament. There's appears like if you don't take the carrot, you take the stick, vote for Bill 7. How much can Zambians trust in the opposition and the independents that we have in parliament?
Thank you, Ambassador. To start with, when we received information, we read something on social media, it must have been a week ago, that some members of parliament had received money from the UPN with a view that they support Constitution Amendment Bill number 7. In my capacity as the national chairperson for parliamentary affairs under Tonse, I got alarmed, and I immediately assembled a meeting of members of parliament to address the nation. At that meeting, we came out very strongly to warn all those MPs who may have compromised and taken money from the UPND to support Constitution Amendment Bill number 7. We sent a very strong word, because from the time that this particular bill was presented to Parliament, we've been engaging members of Parliament. However, we could not ignore the information that we saw on social media. So, Ambassador, I want to tell you that from that time, of course, as a leader, a national chairperson of parliamentary affairs, I have a duty. I have a duty to ensure that parliamentarians do what they have to do. They should do what they were voted for, and that is not to betray the people that sent them to parliament. So I have been engaging members of parliament one-on-one, especially some of those names that we've seen flying around on social media. I must tell you, Ambassador Mwamba, that so far, a few of those names that I've spoken to have made an undertaking. They've promised that they will not betray the nation. They'll stand firm in defense of the aspirations of the people that they serve. I did not get the permission to mention their names. Of course, in due course, I should be able to mention some of those names that are appearing on that list. So we have a duty. It's a call on all of us, the churches, citizens generally. These members of parliament are our representatives. they are there in parliament in their representative capacity. So I want to call upon Zambians. You must speak to all of us. Speak to your parliamentarians, the churches, the parish priests. Call your parliamentarians. Let them understand the need to stand with the people. So I can confirm to you, Ambassador, that yes, we are in active talks with some of those names that have come on social media, and I'm happy to report that quite a number of them have promised that they're going to remain steadfast, and they will make sure that they don't betray the people that voted for them.
We saw last week the Oasis Forum organize public protests, but the president quickly held a press conference on Wednesday, discouraged the public protest and demonstration, and called for dialogue. When that dialogue came, just as many people feared, it didn't go anywhere. First of all, the president appears that he was not sincere, number one, because as soon as he held those discussions, he announced that he was meeting another group for him. And when he met that group on Monday, it was very clear that Bill 7 was headed for Parliament, and that the talks that Oasis Forum had engaged in appeared to be window dressing. And I'm glad that we have a video of Honorable Beauty Katebe, the chairperson, announcing that the dialogue that they had hoped would resolve, would prevent street protest, would bring the teams together and to bridge the gap that existed. The dialogue had failed. And the president has been dismissive that we should lobby you MPs. It's up to you. The matter of enactment of any constitution or any law lies with you, or we should go to court. But we have a background. There are allegations that, first of all, the president is shrinking the democratic space. This has been reported in international reports. There is controlling major democratic institutions such as Parliament, the Judiciary, Electoral Commission of Zambia, and others. Again, these are documented. So to refer you to court or to Parliament appears a mockery in light of the condition. There seems to be low trust by members of the public that Parliament is independent and can do the right thing, that the judiciary can do the right thing, as we saw the dismissal of that matter by a member of the judge who themselves have previously been accused of being close to the president. Oasis Forum has called for action from citizens and from stakeholders like you. Are you in any way engaging with institutions like Oasis Forum? Are you ready, other than your work in Parliament, to go to the street or to bring pressure to bear? Are there any thoughts around that particular matter?
Yes, Ambassador Mwamba, I want to confirm that we are going to use any constitutional means available to register our protests against Constitutional Amendment Bill number 7. As a matter of fact, even that day when we gathered at the Cathedral for prayers, we were among the many Zambians that gathered there. And before that, as parliamentarians, we actually signed a social contract, the Oasis Forum. We have a partnership now in the fight against Bill 7. So there are quite a number of MPs that have signed. We did not present that particular list because some of the MPs were out of the country, others were out in their constituencies. We didn't want to present a picture that would appear that some of them resisted to sign when they were just absent in the actual sense. Yeah, so we are in that partnership. We are continuing to engage. And like I said, any legal possible to protest against Bill 7 will stand with the Oasis Forum. So let me be quick to also comment on the president's remarks, where he says, go to court, engage parliamentarians. Ambassador Mwamba, we have what we call unconstitutional constitutional amendments. So a constitution can actually be amended unconstitutionally. So it would be legally, it may be legally amended, but it will lack legitimacy. So what is important about a constitution? It should, first of all, be legitimate, it should be democratic and also be durable. So it can only be legitimate, durable, and democratic if it's a constitution that is passed with a broad public participation. So what President Hakainde Hichilema is banking on, he banking bulldozing the numbers in parliament, so that as long as they meet the 111 threshold, the rest does not matter. Mr. President, it doesn't happen that way. A constitution must be legitimate. For a constitution to be durable, it must be legitimate. It must be democratic. People should freely participate because that constitution belongs to the people of Zambia. It must be one that takes into account the aspirations and interests of the people. So it's not enough for your government, Mr. President, to intimidate a few individuals, entice individuals with some cash incentives to get to 111 and believe that you've passed a constitution. A constitution that's not legitimate would definitely be disastrous to this country. So, as opposed to referring to the courts and parliament, a modern constitution should be a product of a negotiated settlement. It should be a product of dialogue. It should be a product of consultation. Because when you look at the constitution, really, why should it be so hard that the president is now saying, go to court? All we are saying, Mr. President, that document, that constitution does not belong to you. It belongs to the Zambian people. If it belongs to the Zambian people, and you look around and look at the many stakeholders that have spoken against Bill 7, these are professional bodies, the churches, parliamentarians, citizens, right across the country. The levels of resistance should by now have persuaded you, Mr. President. You should have stood down to re-look at the position of Bill 7. In any case, the question that we ask, why are we in such a hurry? Why are we in such indecent haste to try and pass this particular constitution? There is no emergency as far as I'm concerned. There is no public outcry. The Constitution Amendment Bill number 2 of 2016 is the same constitution that was used when UPND came into power. So I do not think there's anything so urgent. If there was anything that urgent, then we should have seen that urgency during the time we attempted to amend the constitution using Bill 10. So the arguments the president used when fighting against Bill 10, when you watch the videos, then one wonders what has changed. When we talked about amending at 50, the president came out very strongly, against that, and many other proposed amendments. So if I told there was something very urgent at the time, the president would have brought it out. So the advice or the statement by the president that one should go to court or indeed go and persuade members of parliament should not stand in modern constitutionalism. In modern constitutional order, you endeavor to persuade each other. You negotiate, you sit down and dialogue, so that ultimately, given an environment, a conducive environment, and also give it enough time. So you start by ticking non-contentious clauses. There's been this argument, Ambassador, where somebody comes up and says the clauses we're bringing up are non-contentious. Every clause in the Constitution is contentious, including a comma. That's why it's in the Constitution. The aspect of a non-contentious item would only come after stakeholder consultations. So what would have expected, had President Hakainde Hichilema left this process for now, so that it's commenced at a later date, you can actually arrive at some consensus out of negotiations. That is the reason why a constitution amendment process is given enough time so that people are able to negotiate and agree on what should go in the constitution. So the mechanical approach that is being taken by the EPND government and the president is because of rushing this particular process, wanting to amend the constitution within 90 days. It's very, very unfortunate indeed.
Yeah. Before I transition to the issues affecting our country and the role of the current state of the Patriotic Front, the president made those unfortunate remarks, tribal remarks, that is just you people, we people, just do not like him because of where he was born. If he was excluded, he says all constitutional amendments in the past have been done in the election year. Why are we opposing him? We are just, prejudiced against him because of where he was born. Let me look for that video and probably play it. Then I invite your remarks to it because his remarks went to the foundation of our country.
We were aggrieved as UPND, and I told my members, no one goes in the streets. Let's vote in Parliament. We voted and lost in Parliament. I never allowed our members to go in the streets. UPND, this man they don't like, for whatever reason. Right? This level of hatred is shocking. Right? You can see that there's venom here. You can even touch it. There's venom here. We go to amend the Constitution using the same law, using the same Constitution, which was applied, clauses which were used before. It says, no, we don't want. The timing is wrong. But what about those other timings when it was amended? What was right? Why didn't you go in the streets? Ask yourselves a question. So you want to start conflict over nothing.
Uyumulanda wine mwamupatafye. He cries. He says, you just hate him because of where he was born and who he is. What are your views, Honorable Munduwile, on those remarks?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Ambassador Mwamba. I'll be forced to give this example. I normally don't, like discussing this topic to do with a tribe, a region, and so on. You remember that in 2016, in Dundumwezi, the president got 33,000 votes, and President Lungu got 220 votes. Can you imagine? Did you ever hear President Lungu go and say to the people that gave him 220 votes as a sitting president? He never accused anyone of hating him. I've just given you an example. He was a sitting president, delivered development to all parts of the country. His friend got 33,000 votes. He got 220 votes. But President Lungu was able to go to Dundumwezi. He actually took some rural electrification project to Dundumwezi after he got 220 votes. He says, look, this is part of the game. This is democracy. I only got 200 votes, but the people here are Zambian people, and I'm going to take democracy there. Why President Lungu cry foul when President Hakainde Hichilema went all around and campaigned against Constitution Amendment Bill number 10? President Hakainde Hichilema went against Bill 10 after being part of the process. Ambassador Mwamba, I want to tell you that besides the Siavonga meeting, as political parties were meeting at the Law Association of Zambia, out of those that were representing the party, I was actually the one negotiating with 15 other political parties that included the UPND. And the UPND was represented by President Hakainde Hichilema. We were meeting and negotiating on this Constitution Amendment Bill number 10. But when we got to the end, they abandoned the process, sabotaged the process until that process collapsed. The bill collapsed on the floor of the House. But President Edgar Chagwa Lungu never came up to talk about how he was hated through that particular process. So the challenge that we have, Comrade Emmanuel Mwamba, like I pointed out earlier, I think that President Hakainde Hichilema thinks that particular constitution is actually his document, because he is the one who came up with those amendments. He felt it was a personal document. And when the personal document was rejected, he felt he was just hated. So President Hakainde Hichilema, I want to say this, that that is not a personal document. A constitution is a national document. So you should detach yourself from Constitution Amendment Bill number 7. You must know that a constitution is the people's document. The moment you realize that this document actually belongs to the people, you will not be reacting emotionally in the manner that you did at your last press briefing. And secondly, I want to advise and call upon the president. Mr. President, as citizen number one, you must show love when you appear before the public. For the past 4 years, all we have seen is anger. When you come up, you want to talk about how you are hated, how people don't like you, how because you are born from a particular region. That is not a language that a leader is supposed to use. As leaders, we're supposed to be preaching unity. Unity, national unity is provided for under Article 8 of our Constitution. What we should see from you, sir, is bringing the people together. We, the Zambian people, it's only now that the Zambians have become so conscious about their ethnicity. Mr. President, this is something that is un-Zambian. Whenever you receive a visitor or you meet a the first ask what tribe they are. That is so un-Zambian. And that is so because as a leader, all you have done, whenever I appear in public, is talk about how people don't love you because of where you come from. I hope that in the next and future engagement, Mr. President, you will desist from spreading such hate before the citizens. What we expect from you, Mr. President, is to show love, preach love, and reconciliation. You cannot come up and say you are hated because people have they hold a different view. Zambians should be able to express themselves. The views that have been expressed against Bill 7 are objective views. This happens all over the world during this particular process. So for the president to play victim in this particular case is indeed unfortunate. And really, I hope that in future engagements, the president will desist from taking that route.
Let's go to the state of the country. Clearly, we are in serious crisis. The state of our economy, affected by the cost of living crisis. The political tension is palpable, as we've seen in the last few weeks, especially with an obstinate president who's determined to barrel through, push through, even a document that stakeholders such as the Catholic Church and other civil society groupings have said, Mr. President, I think slow down. Where do you see the state of the country? And our people are looking up to the opposition as solution, and we seem to have chaos in the opposition. Maybe let's start with the state of the country, how you see it. Then we briefly discuss the issues of the PF. I know it's internal, but you must speak to it briefly. And then, before we open the phone lines, I want how you see the opposition and how they should prepare for 2026. But let's start with the state of the economy. Hello, please do volume for Honorable Mundubile. Yeah, thank you.
I think most people are receiving only up to 3 hours a day, and other people are going for days without power. So clearly, you find that small businesses have collapsed. Small companies, medium-sized companies are all closing because of this load shedding and power challenges. So there's high cost of living. You look at the food prices, they're skyrocketing. Levels of unemployment are rising every day. And we don't see any practical efforts being made by government to try and resolve these challenges that the Zambian people are facing today. So clearly, the state of the economy, we don't see any benefit. The Minister of Mines and the President, are all over, boasting about the levels of investment that has come up in the mining sector. But the net benefit from these investments is something that we haven't seen. I think Emmanuel, remember, we've been discussing this. We've been talking about the incentives that government has been giving to these mining houses. In the first year, hardly a month after the APND took over power, they gave these incentives to the mining mining companies that resulted in losses to the National Treasury. I remember that it should have been maybe 6, 7, 8 billion kwacha that resulted as a result of the incentives that were given on mineral royalty taxes, where it was reduced from 6% to 3%, deductible. So these measures by the Minister of Finance in the first year of being in power were supposed to be in exchange for ramping up production in the mining sector of up to 3 million tons by 2031. Now, this is 4 years later. Our position at the time as members of parliament was that he needed to graduate these incentives so that with certain key performance indicators coming from the mines, they will then qualify for certain incentives instead of giving up these incentives right from the beginning. But of course, the minister argued and believed that they would improve production along the way. So let's be very simplistic. This is 4 years down the line. It's almost 5 years. We haven't yet hit 1 million tons. When the EPND came into power, I think we were still around 800,000 metric tons. So in all these incentives, we haven't seen much improvement in the product copper. But then the question that begs, if you look at the losses that have resulted from these incentives that have been given, what if these mines fail to live up to their promises? What happens? These incentives would have already been enjoyed. So we believe that some of the challenges we are facing today would not be there if we were properly benefiting from our mineral resources. So two, we look at agriculture, Comrade Mwamba. Our farmers who sold maize to FRA have not yet been paid. These are farmers who were not necessarily beneficiaries from the Farmer Input Support Program. Some of them actually just bought their own fertilizers. And you remember, Comrade Mwamba, that President Hakainde Hichilema is on record of having promised to reduce the prices of fertilizer up to 250. Fertilizer is still over 1,000 kwacha. And these people went out of their way to borrow, buy fertilizer, they grew maize and sold it to government, and up to now they have not been paid. So these are huge, huge challenges that we face today. So the state of the economy, as you ask, I think we are in trouble. We are in big trouble, and the people on the ground are suffering. I've been around, Comrade Mwamba, I've been to 8 provinces. We were basically promoting voter registration. We had a chance to interact with the people. Whether it's on the copper belt, go to Mufurila and go and find out what the miners are going through. So when you listen to President Hakainde Hichilema and Comrade Kavuswe on the floor of the House, you would think that there's paradise on the copper belt. Miners are resigning every day because of the bad conditions of service. Miners are leading impoverished lives, even as they're working for these mines. And yet we continue to report high investments in these areas. So the state of the economy, Comrade Mwamba, is very, very tough for our people. Abantu Valechula, like I said, Vanyinefwe, Imisepela, and everybody else. We took time to interview people, and it's a sad story out there.
Yeah. The Patriotic Front, the largest political party in the country. If you go to Shangombo, you go to Nakonde, you go to Zambezi, you go to Chama, you will find almost an intact leadership and still members. The state of the Patriotic Front has been of worry to our people. It's not because of your own making, I guess, because first the party has been assaulted severely from the state. There's been an assault, relentless assault against its leadership. Currently, the Secretary General of the party, Honorable Raphael Nakachinda, is in prison on speech offenses, and many other leaders are in prison for this and that. The party itself, the legal ownership has been hijacked from the legitimate owners, it is of worry. And we are 7 months away from an election. We are a few months, I think under 6 months before we go to the nomination for presidential candidates for the country. What is happening in PF? And as one of the leading candidates, you, Honorable Given Lubinda, Honorable Makebi Zulu and others, what are you doing about this? Because our people are losing hope. Every day we are inundated with these calls. Even here on my platform, every day, people want us to resolve the issue in PF as if it was entirely up to the PF. But I don't know what your views are. Please do the volume for Honorable Mundubile.
And our belief was that I think some of these differences that we've been seeing would have come to an end had we gone to a convention. Because what the PF needs a leader. A leader must emerge and begin to take charge of the affairs of the party. I want to tell you, Comrade Mwamba, that as a result of this delayed process to choose a leader, a number of things. Already can tell you that as the largest of political parties, we must take responsibility and also apologize. I think the churches have done a fantastic job on the fight against Bill 7. Ordinarily, what should have been seen as the largest opposition political party, we should have taken the front row, taken leadership to try and fight this. And I believe maybe the results would have been different. Now, because of this delayed convention, the delay to choose a leader, we've not been able to exercise some of these options. And you agree with me that even within the opposition, many other political parties have been waiting upon us to provide leadership in some of these activities, including the fight against Bill 7. So we all must take responsibility. We must take responsibility because this is a noble task. And the Zambian people have been waiting upon us to provide that leadership. Now, I want to tell you that there was a meeting with the Council of Leaders that included the former Vice President and founder members of the party, Comrade Paul Lumbi, Samuel Mukupa, among others. This meeting was between the Council of Leaders and the candidates. So the postponement of this particular convention was to allow for reconciliation. You remember that there had been suspension of senior members of the party from Central Committee. And the Council of Elders felt that this is not a time to start suspending people and removing them from their positions. Because ordinarily, as a tradition is, whenever you're heading towards the convention, even when there are existing suspensions, they're actually lifted so that people are allowed to participate in that particular process. Yeah, so this is where we are. We are allowing for this process of reconciliation and reinstatement because this is the position, a clear position that was taken by a Council of Elders, guiding the leaders that this is not the time, to create differences, remove people from the party or indeed party positions. I'm sure, Comrade Mwamba, you know that the chairman of the party, Honorable Emmanuel was affected. The former Secretary General of the party, Davis Miller, was affected of that decision. The DSG, Honorable Nyirenda, was affected. MCC, Merestiana Thiri, was affected. There was another member of Central Committee, Abiud Kawangu, and indeed the chairperson for Lusaka, who is Christopher Chaka Putwa. These are some of the people that were affected with those decisions that were made. So clearly, the convention was postponed to allow for the reconciliation. But one thing that is important to note is that the Zambian people have invested their trust. Not only our members, but the rest of the Zambian people have invested their trust in us. So we must begin to check ourselves. We cannot abandon national duty, like the fight against Bill 10, and take forever to do our reconciliations and leave the Zambian people aside. I think our focus should be on the Zambian people. My prayer is that these reconciliations will happen quickly so that we can begin to resolve the challenges that the Zambian people face today. So being we will have to show, we have to take responsibility and ensure that our internal differences should not take center stage. We should instead look at the suffering of the Zambian people. Like you asked earlier, we are looking at the state of the economy. The Zambian people are looking up to us to resolve the challenge of load shedding, to look at to resolve the challenges of high food prices, among others, higher unemployment amongst the youth. And I don't think that the Zambians will forgive us if we take forever to resolve our differences and leave them on the wayside, to die of hunger and many other challenges that they're facing. Yeah, so I just thought I should mention that, Comrade Mwamba, that these differences, I think the Council of Elders have stepped in. We hope to resolve these differences so that we can quickly go to the convention, hopefully before the end of December. Once a leader has chosen, I know that most of these petty squabbles will come to an end.
The internal challenges of the Patriotic Front, be it as they are internal and not necessarily internal, because they actually sabotage the work of the opposition. Many leaders in the opposition are waiting for a resolution in the PF so that the PF can help, mobilize and unite the opposition. The confusion sabotages the work of the opposition. So you cannot really hold your hand and not resolve this issue. So I'm glad that you appear determined that you should reconcile and quickly hold that conference. The rest of the matters are probably internal. Tomorrow I'm informed that there is a group of political parties that are forming yet another alliance. There is Tonse Alliance, there is United Kwacha Alliance, there is Opposition Front. There appears to be all alliances, but as we have seen in the opposition, even alliances appear fragmented. Do you have hope that these alliances will quickly come together? And like I was saying, we have a nomination that is due in May for presidential candidates. Are we going to see a united front in the opposition? What are your thoughts and views as you interact with your colleagues?
Yes, I think it's possible, to come up with an alliance that can work. The starting point is that we must start having sincere conversations as leaders with each other. You cannot have differences everywhere. We must sit and have sincere conversations. We must find out where are these problems coming from. I'm sure that if we are all sincere, we sit and look at the sources of these challenges, we should be able to resolve. But if we want to cover our faces and pretend there's no problem, we are unlikely to solve these problems. But most importantly, our focus should be on the Zambian people, focus upon leaders out there. Let's begin to introspect. Right now, as I speak, we have a major challenge. The elephant in the room is actually Bill 7. As political parties, we should take charge of this particular process. The churches have done their part. The professional bodies have done their part. If we look at our participation as political parties, then you will agree with me to say we haven't played our role in this particular process. And it's a call that going forward, yes, let's allocate a bit of time to form alliances, but let's spend 90% of the time coming up together to fight against Bill 7. That is the elephant in the room. The differences that we may have amongst ourselves should not occupy our time. The Zambian people are waiting upon us. So let's abandon those petty differences, come together and fight Bill 7. I'm sure that if we allocate time, it's enough to be able to come up with alliances and partnerships, whatever. But the major challenge should be devoted to resolving the challenges the Zambian people are facing today.
I agree. Bill 7 is the present danger. a committee, select committee has already been appointed. It's beginning to make hearings. I know there are court processes, but there is history that the Speaker does ignore the role of the Constitution and court processes. We saw when they expelled the 9, it had to take the Constitutional Court to have them reinstated. We've seen how belligerent she's been even in this process where she didn't withdraw Bill 7 because a fresh process must have started as guided by the Constitutional Court. Dear viewers, it's your time. It's your time to call. It's your time to participate. I'm hosting former Energy Regulation Board Chairperson, former Northern Province Minister, former Chief Whip, current Mporokoso Member of Parliament, and one of the leading presidential candidates in the Patriotic Front. It's your time to call, to participate, ask your questions. What are your concerns? He himself has put Bill 7 as the biggest present danger we have. If there are any efforts to be accorded, looking at the speed that President Hakainde Hichilema has accorded to this process, he wants it to go through despite all the concerns. So call, let's hear from you. Do you have any questions for Brian Mundubile?
Hey, we need a man of action no mutima owakwetako basata okuchiro kuchula 5 years to 10 years out to me papata and I give you new PM80 Brani Mundubile
Wakufixa vyonse fintu ababantu balesha baonaula tabawa povya wamepa baishire fintu vyonse muchalo balionaula and I give you new PM80 Brani Mundubile
ifintu kuchinja nyapa muvotere wish.
Thank you. It appears we have our first caller. Caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from, and please be brief.
Hey, good afternoon, Honorable Mwamba.
Good afternoon.
This is Charles Shondan calling here, and thank you for the privilege. Yeah.
Thank you, Charles.
My question is, to Honorable Mundubile, I totally agree that the big elephant is Bill 7. But now, the question is, there is no need for you guys to be scared or for us to be scared. I think it's just a matter of strategy. The time we have reached now is to confuse the other guy, because we have more people here than he has. So the strategy has to confuse Hichilema. And it's time not to be scared. It's time to go to prison for this. If our forefathers, they fought for independence, then why can't we do the same?
Thank you.
We have to use the Catholic Church, And secondly, I'm just disappointed with the PF, They always fascinating, Why should they be canceling the convention now? Because there is no time. Now is the time of... All right, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chomba from Florida. I think he has raised two issues there, that the Zambians are the majority and that the PF should not cancel their... there are so many calls running, so let's quickly go through them. Hello, caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Good evening. My name is Michael Mulusa. I'm calling from Lusaka.
Michael Mulusa, make your contributions quickly or your questions to Honorable Brian Mundubile.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Ambassador. And thank you very much, Honorable Mundubile. I think you have elaborated clearly, and I like the fact that you have put Bill 7 as the #1 priority and what Zambians, parliamentarians, and leaders should be concerned about. I also like the fact that you have taken responsibility and that you took the onus to apologize on behalf of Patriotic Front and taking the responsibility of what needs to be done. I just encourage that, Honorable, please continue with this Bill 7. It's life or death. I like the fact that, yes, alliances are important, but right now we need to sort out this issue. After sorting out this issue, united, then we can go on to the next situation. So I'm really encouraged. I had a question, but you have elaborated very well. So I'm just listening in and enjoying. Thank you very much. And we are together with this Bill 7 issue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. words of solidarity and encouragement. Hello, caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Good evening, Honorable Ambassador Mwamba. This is Patrick calling from England.
Yes, Patrick from UK. Make your contributions.
Sure, thank you. Good evening, Honorable Mundubile. Honorable, I just have maybe two questions, if Ambassador will allow me. The first one is, there are members of parliament from the PF. I know you are not the current leader of the opposition, but there are members of parliament that are looking like they can definitely vote for the bill to go through, that are from the Patriot Front. How are you coordinating those members so that maybe we can have one vote as the opposition that will prevent the bill from going through and protect the Zambians? Then the other question that I have is about your candidature. Your candidature, Honorable, has been smeared with a lot of speculations of you being a UPND project. And recently, I don't know if it's yesterday or the other day, Honorable Davis Muila, who is known to be your supporter, issued some statement about the PF that members should just scatter and join other political parties because the PF is dead. And when there's a talk of you being a UPND project, and then someone who is close to you is talking in those lines, how do you talk about that? And how are you going to distance yourself from such talks from someone who is in your camp, like in your campaign team? Because definitely Honorable Mwila doesn't mean well for the party. If someone who is a former SG can speak like that against a political party where he was the chief executive just some few months ago, definitely didn't sit well with many Zambians, and you to definitely put your name in bad light. How do you?
Thank you, my brother. Thank you. Yes, to what extent can Honorable Mundubile be responsible for statements of those that are his followers? I think that is a question. Hello, caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Greetings, Ambassador Mwamba.
Good evening.
Yeah, this is Chano Dangwira.
Mr. Chano Dangwira, please make your contributions or questions to Honorable Brian Mundubile.
In the first place, I want to state categorically that I think Zambia's solution has been. I want to be very frank with all the Zambian people that I think Honorable Brian Mundubile has proven to be a man of the moment to get us out of the many problems that Mr. Hakainde Hichilema has brought us into. This is simple. The articulation, the knowledge of the Constitution, and also the knowledge of governance, I think, has proven to us that I think this is, the plan B that probably has been, overemphasized regards the Patriotic Front and Zambia at large. The other thing that I want to talk about is that, look, Brian Mundubile has categorically stated, just like the Oasis Forum, to say, look, it's not about the content of the bill. It's about following, it's about allowing dialogue. And I think what the UPND has missed and what all these other stakeholders have missed is the issue of dialogue. So the best is probably, let's restart this process and look at what is missing, then we put in what is missing. But all I can say is that Zambians, fellow Zambians, the man to govern us coming coming to 2026 has been found. And this is Brian Muntayalwa Mundubile. Thank you so much, Ambassador Mwamba.
Thank you very much. I've got so many calls waiting. Please be brief. Hello, caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Good evening, Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba. This is Lilian Mutambo calling from the UK.
Yes, Lilian from the UK. Make your contributions.
Good evening, Mr. President, Your Excellency, Honorable Brian Mundubile. Thank you so much, Emmanuel Mwamba. Basically, for me, what I just wanted to ask Brian Mundubile is if he can come up with a special purpose vehicle for us to move because there's no time. We are seeing the games that are being played by the Patriotic Front and also the infighting that is going on, which a lot of Zambians are worried about, what's going on. And, Fila Ilanga, we can tell that President Brian Mundubile is the incoming president in 2026. And I don't even know why we're wasting time. I know there is a supposed convention to take place, but from what we know is that Hakainde Hichilema will never give the Patriotic Front back to PF. So what is the plan for President Brian Mundubile? Does he have a special purpose vehicle? And if there's no special purpose vehicle, there's so many political parties willing to adopt him as president. Secondly, is he willing to resign as of January 2026 or maybe around March so that we start campaigning? And I also want to encourage him that here in the diaspora, and many of us are rallying behind Brian Mundubile. That is why we have even come up with the theme Uncle B. So Uncle B, we love you, we celebrate you. Focus, just know that you are the giant in this race. The race is between President Hakainde Hichilema and you will carry the day in 2026. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. There was a body, now there's an uncle. Lily Mtambo from the United Kingdom. Hello, caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Hello, Mwamba.
Hello, caller, please tell us your name and make your contributions.
Okay, I will remain anonymous for now, but I'm calling you from the Copper Belt.
Yes, caller, make your contributions.
So, my advice is, this goes straight to Honorable Brian Mundubile. You've got less than a year to go before the elections. One tamula sorting each pan. You cannot realize that PF tamaka ipoke. Why can't you form an alternative party and then channel the structures that you have towards that new party? Patriotic Front. I'm giving you a suggestion. Put NPF, even New Patriotic Front. You hit the ground running. Haven't you lost faith in the courts? How many times have you been to court? You risk not even having a candidate. Already you started the blame game. Davis Mirawaringere to Alusama elections. It is you now who's betraying the Zambians because they are looking up to you for leadership. And say if you go into the legal which you've tried, why can't you just register another party so that you tell the people to say, well, now we're on this party. If you have special vehicles, if you have alliance, they're not even important for now. You've got a lot of numbers at Patriotic Front. Members can just switch from that PF that we know to the NPF if you also want not to confuse people.
Okay, my caller. Okay, thank you very much. I like how callers think it's that simple. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
You're talking to Mambochola. Good evening.
Mambochola, make your contributions.
Honorable Brian Mundubile, good evening. This is Team Lee Camp.
Yes, my brother, make your contributions quickly.
Honorable Mundubile, I just want us to urge you to continue speaking for the voiceless, and I want you to continue being steadfast because you are dealing with a very, very difficult person in the name of President Hakainde. To be quick, I also have to talk about the issue of Bill 10, Bill 7, which my president has already alluded to. This animal called Bill 7 should be fought with all the energy that we can have. This should be the last fight that all MPs should not even to fight. Because if you allow President Hakainde Hichilema to continue with this Bill 7, it will also come and injure himself. So we are not just advocating for it to fall, we are also advocating for him to be protected after he leaves office. Because who can support the dissolution of parliament by the president? Who can support that when there is a vacancy in the office of the MP, a political party should just appoint someone else? That is a very, very wrong view and it should not even be thought of. And I wonder why a taker is ever so hungry when someone says you cannot do this. We are not stopping him to do anything which is within the UPNG. We are stopping him to touch our national document. This is not a UPNG document. This is a document that protects each and every Zambian. And it is us Zambians who have said not to this issue. And why should we be crying that you hate me because I'm from Mwamba, because I'm from whatever? There's nothing like hatred here. We are trying to protect what belongs to us.
Thank you, caller. Thank you. I've got another caller here. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Good evening, Ambassador Mwamba. Good evening, Honorable Mundwile. This is Sencho Banda.
Honorable Sencho Banda. Yeah, make your contributions.
Yes, please. Yes, I'll be brief and to the point. When I saw that communique from the State House, I was really appalled for the simple reason that the government and its state machinery, they know the issues which people have been raising as regard Bill 10. And the contents, the clauses at the tail end of it, because in constitutional making process, means justifies the end, as it were. For example, this process was started by the president himself by announcing that the people had agreed in Kasama. He announced again in Mongu that actually there was a white paper where there was a debate back and forth between the Chief Minister of Justice and also State House. As that wasn't enough, the matter was brought to Parliament.
Oh, have we lost you there, Honorable Sencho Banda? Okay, yeah.
The roadmap, and that process was halted by the courts. So the aim is that in how you handle national matters, and the tail end of it would be interesting for you to know.
Oh, but he has made his point. Honorable Sencho Banda's phone is cutting. Hello, caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
I remain anonymous for now, sir.
Anonymous, make your contributions.
I'm calling from Lusaka.
Thank you.
I want to learn that they form a new patriotic front. It's not that, as you pointed to Mwamba. You know, the whole system is compromised. We have an example of the Uka Alliance right now, still not registered. Na new na special purpose vehicle na ikakwata controversy kuntanshi. So through the shape of an independent presidential candidate is also an option. So let's look into that as well. I contribute. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, someone says it's not as easy as our people are thinking. You can just walk to the registrar and get a new political party. Hello, caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from. Endita, make your contributions. Introduce yourself. Mkwai.
Brian Mundwile ndipo vatusire kuwasiwa vapresident vesu vakaindechirema vakaindechiremo vareretera amabhiuzi aene atese 2019 amabhiuzi 7 aya kutine mirandu vapangana vantu vakata varikuwa vakese vavererepo muyayaya vakafuyire pasi pamupando lero vavapresident vesu vavachite ashuwa vena vapresident vamundwile vavipo muti vanga vahechesi torakukava vachivena mumiya zulu kupira tirena tavasese vakaka kuti vapirirwe vakwekukuye mupende vachive necharo muchivoruke olo naye amaindigemarese amatiya kwatiwani vapatawe iguilt conscious varikuva varechengereka vantu nokurava puwa namashuvi amufi
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Is saying, can you assure President Hichilema? It looks like he's doing all these things from inadequacies that you come and jail him. So he's extending his term so that he's secure and, you know, he's not harassed. Hello, caller, please tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Simbike Zulu, calling from Lusaka, Zambia.
Mr. Zulu, make your contributions.
Thank you. Yeah, firstly, I want to appeal to Honorable Mundwile. If there's a way they can use to stop Bill 7 from being subjected to a vote in Parliament, let them use that route. Once that bill is tabled in Parliament and subjected to a vote, mark my words, that bill will go through. So, Honorable Mundwile and your team, work out a mechanism of ensuring that that bill is not subjected to a vote in Parliament. Otherwise, it will go through. Secondly, the remarks attributed to the former SG for PF, maybe it's the way he presented the remarks, but there is an element of truth in what he said. Let's face facts. PF will not be given back before elections. There's a likelihood that these cases will be prolonged until after elections. So what these leaders need to do is look at the alternative. Pick a special purpose vehicle. Start riding on that vehicle. If on the way PF is given back, you can revert to PF. But as it stands, you are losing valuable time. Can you pick a special purpose vehicle which you will start fronting? I submit.
Thank you very much. I know that generals don't discuss strategies, but Honorable Mundubile, they're asking you to discuss strategy, and you may have to hint to whatever it is that the PF is doing. Hello, caller, please tell us your name, and I think this will be our last caller for now. I know there are so many calls, but let's allow for Honorable Mundubile to answer. Hello, caller, please tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Greetings, Ambassador John Mabo, Italy here.
Oh, Mr. Mabo from Italy, make your contribution, my dear brother.
Thank you, Ambassador. I have a question for Honorable Mundubile. Because when I was in Zambia, Kuchililo, I passed by the PF Secretariat. And then quite often, guys outside the Secretariat, there were some very friendly people who helped me go into the other building to sign the book of condolences. And then, we were asking, so what do you think is the future of the party? Out of curiosity. Most people from the Secretariat now within the province ya Lusaka na kumbeko twaile kukopa belt na kulwapo. Balelanda bamundubile. Ikalimbushafe. But questioning but since abantu abengi they pointed on Honorable Mundubile, what's the issue within the party? Lack of unity na show of ama egos. Where is the problem? Because I think the Zambian people Honorable Mundubile chinka. But apa problem kulanda mchinene chinka. Problem within the party ni pesa. That's my question to Honorable Mundubile. Thank you, Ambassador.
Thank you very much. Mabo, our last caller, is a gentleman from Italy, is a chairperson of Zambian community in Italy, and he feels that the PF are wasting time. They already have a leader. I will invite Honorable Brian Mundubile to answer to the questions that have been raised.
Hey, we need a man of action no mutima owakweta ko basata okuchilo kuchula 5 years to 10 years out to me papata and I give you new Brand Mundubile
work fix a fiance fin to babantu balesha baonaula Tabawa povya wamepa vaishire fin fiance muchalo balionaula and I give you
Let me bring on Honorable Brian Mundubile. Honorable Brian Mundubile, you've heard the calls. Others are saying, decamp as a PF, form a political party, form a special purpose vehicle, leave your party. President Ichilema will not, the chokehold he has on the PF, he will not let go. I think this is a question that troubles all the leaders in the PF. What are your thoughts when this matter comes up? Because he appears that he's very determined not to allow the largest opposition party to be on the ballot. When you see these concerns, is there something that is being done? Others are of the view that this is an assault on our democracy, and probably one of the largest campaigns the PF should have raised was around this issue, to make the international community and our people know that the attack on PF was an attack on democracy itself. But we seem to have lost the arguments. When you are faced with this issue, What do you think? What are your active thoughts? And like I said, I know no general reviews his strategies, but what are your thoughts?
Thank you, Comrade Ambassador Mwamba. Yes, I first of all want to thank all those that have shown concern. It's very clear that many of our Zambian people, both within and outside the country, are depending on the PF, to provide checks and balances, and indeed be able to stand against the UPND and President Hakainde Hichilema in next year's elections. So I want to take this opportunity also to thank members of our party, Patriotic Front Party from across the country, for remaining faithful. You remember from the time the disturbances came, sponsored by President Hakainde Hichilema and the UPND, that was sometime in 2023. Their view at the time was that they could scatter the party. But members of the Patriotic Front Party have shown resilience. Today, the Patriotic Front Party remains the largest party in Zambia, not opposition political party, but the largest political party in Zambia. And the membership of the PF has proved to be the most resolute membership of all political parties in Zambia. For that, I want to thank all the members from across the country. So what is clear is that decisions will have to be made, and be made the soonest time possible. I want to assure all of you that the Council of Elders has stepped up to sit with members of the Central Committee and the candidates to find a way forward, an amicable way forward, one that will ensure that the membership remains intact and whatever decision is arrived at is a product of consensus within the membership. I know Ambassador Mwamba mentioned generals don't discuss strategies. I think to that extent, I would just want to assure our people that we are in active discussions with senior party leaders, founder members of the party, to try and find a solution. My assurance to you is that a solution will be found. A solution will be found soon, and that solution, the result will be to find a leader who's going to stand against President Hakainde Hichilema in next year's elections. A leader who's going to provide leadership not only to the Patriotic Front, but also to the other opposition political parties. Being the largest opposition political party, it will also provide, through its leader, leadership to other political parties in certain assignments, national assignments, like the fight against Bill 7 and many other challenges that will be faced politically on the ground. As you are aware, there is no freedom for political parties here in Zambia. There's been no political rallies for the past 4 years. Political party leaders cannot speak. So these are some of the things that we'll begin dealing with. We'll begin to confront some of these challenges because political parties have rights. Political party members have rights. If government is not ready to allow members to associate freely, members will have to ensure that within the law, they begin to confront these issues, that the challenges that have faced so many years. So mine is just an assurance that meetings are being held. We are already engaging members of parliament in the background. Some of the worries that were expressed by members of the public, that a number of members of parliament have been compromised, we have spoken to some of them. The good news is that most of them that we've spoken to have made an undertaking that they will not betray the people that voted for them. So we'll continually engage with them to ensure that they stand firm. They resist the temptation of cash incentives and other incentives that may be coming from the ruling party, to try and entice them to support the Constitutional Amendment Bill number 7. So I'm happy that, is it Mr. Zulu? Mr. Zulu, I think, touched a bit on the statement made by Secretary General Mwila. As you know, colleague, Secretary General Mwila was our Secretary General for some time, our boss for the party. And definitely, he has his own views. It would not necessarily be that, I have to control what he says. He was actually my boss for a very long time. And I'm happy that Mr. Zulu was able to speak to that. So, Comrade Sencho Banda, yes, Comrade, you are right. The point that I was stressing was that process protects content. And our focus has been on the Comrade Mwamba, I want to say this, why a process is very important. If the process is right, you spend less time on the content, because then the content would have been agreed upon through wide participation. So if the process is correct, if the process through which these amendments are crafted, you spend very little time to talk about the content. What I mean is, let's take, for instance, you have a flawed process or no process at all, as the case was in Bill 7, because there was no process. We just landed on the content. So it doesn't matter how good the clauses are. The fact that there was no process, it means that these clauses didn't come from the Zambian people. It didn't come from the people. So you can't defend these clauses because they don't belong to the people. They belong maybe to, and in this particular case, those clauses belong to President Hakainde Hichilema. He's the one who pronounced these constitution amendments on 8th of March in Kasama, and later made similar pronouncements in Mongo. So these particular clauses, Comrade Amasaka, did not come from the people. It doesn't matter how good they are. The fact that there was no agreement, there was no consensus around these particular clauses, we cannot even discuss them. So if, for instance, you had a proper process, a proper constitution amendment process that was transparent, that was accountable, that involved broad public participation and governed by law, and you had very bad clauses, there's very little we are going to do about those clauses because the people agreed upon those clauses. So that's what the difference is. I want to agree with Comrade Sencho Banda. Process protects content. If the process is transparent, if the process is legitimate, there is very little time to spend arguing on the content, because then it means that the participants, the people, the stakeholders would have agreed on that particular content. So in this case, it's wrong for Comrade Amasaka and President Hakainde Hichilema to rush us to look at the content, because this content was not coming from the Zambian people. So the process itself leading to this particular bill is flawed. That is why there's been apprehension. That's why there's been resistance from the people of Zambia regarding these particular clauses. So there was a caller who talked about assuring President Hakainde Hichilema. The point is, this country needs healing. This country needs a reset. To start with, it doesn't matter from what angle you want to argue. This country is in intensive care. This country, after next year's elections, needs healing. It needs reconciliation. And as the Bible says, vengeance belongs to God. We don't expect some reversal, a persecution, being dragged left, right, and center. This country right now is lagging behind in terms of development. The many youths that are on the street are looking for employment. There is need to refocus and begin to attend to what is urgent. Urgent today is youth unemployment. What is urgent today are conditions of service for the miners who are working in those mines. Maybe the conversation should be around the sectoral, sector minimum wage. What we are picking from the mines, for instance, is that there are a lot of disparities in the salary and wages within the mining sector. The mines for instance, are running away from mainstream mining. They are giving away contracts on subcontracts, so that the subcontractors now are underpaying the miners in these big mining activities. So as opposed to persecuting people, going after, I think the miners on the copper belt and Solwezi in other parts need solutions. They need us as government to move into the copper belt and Solwezi to look at their conditions of service and ensure that we introduce minimum wages for particular sectors so that a miner, whether he's working for a contractor, working for a mine supplier, or indeed the mine, is guaranteed of a certain minimum wage specific to the sector. So we will spend a lot of time resolving challenges of the people. This is just one example that we're giving. We should be looking at our SMEs. We should go to Kalingalinga, Comrade Emmanuel Mwamba, and look at those welders and carpenters, who are in Mutendere, Kalingalinga, Chipata compound, and say, what can we do for them? And say, well, let's dedicate some money and open mega factories, be able to provide them with equipment and come up with policies that will ensure that government buys the products that these youths are making, thereby creating employment amongst our youths. So there will be no time. The issues of, I think there will be no time to begin to go after President Hakainde Hichilema and many other people. I think forgiveness is divine. We have to reset and focus on what is priority. The UPND government has spent the past 4 years going after political opponents. It has not paid dividends. So clearly, it's a path one should not take. If you know how not to govern, the UPND's governance is a very good example. What they have taught us not how to govern. So all you have to do is to follow the rule book of the UPND and avoid it. Then definitely you may succeed in whatever that you're doing. Because the past 4 years has been a total waste of time. So I want to assure you that there will be no persecution. President Hakainde Hichilema will have his freedom. He's Zambia. He would have ruled Zambia for 5 years, and he would need to be comfortable somewhere and continue with his life. And also, by that time, he will be a former president. Definitely, the country will need his counsel to assist the country in many areas. I just thought I should comment on the gentleman who was talking about assurance. We are preaching love and reconciliation generally. So Vamavo, thank you very much. Yes, I cannot answer it for myself. I may not know where the problem is. You did your survey and you got the results. What we've been focused on, we've been focused on a convention. What we really wanted was a democratic process through which a leader is chosen so that it settles the troubled case. That way, we would have shown the country that we're democratic, that even after being voted into power, we'll continue to be democratic and allow people to choose the ones that they want to lead them. It's unfortunate that there's been this inordinate delay in holding this convention. So we're all hoping that with the coming in of the Council of Elders, we hope that the convention will be held soon.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mundubile, and thank you to all our dear callers and to the many callers that have been calling on one of the open lines. Already have 427 calls. I'm so sorry that we could only take so much. Let me begin to wind down. Honorable Mundubile, I know we've discussed everything. Begin to speak to your last words, and I think words of encouragement to the PF, which appears to be in turmoil, then to the country which feels hopeless, especially on this Bill 7. I've been inundated with calls of people with exasperation. They feel so hopeless. Just speak to that as you begin to give your last remarks. Guys, help me with the volume. Sorry, Honorable Mundubile. I think they didn't.
Opposition.
Yeah, I can hear you now. Proceed.
I believe that we should be able to triumph because the voices of the masses are against Bill 7. On my part, I wish to make an undertaking as the National Chairperson for Parliamentary Affairs under Tonse to take the lead amongst parliamentarians, engage them one-on-one for them to see clause by clause, to be able to see the impact these clauses would have if enacted into law, so that they also take responsibility to save the country. So for members of the party, I know that you are frustrated. Your frustrations come from the fact 9th of November, you believed you're going to have a leader. You believed you're going to have a convention to elect a leader who would begin to lead this party into a new frontier. I want to say to you that please exercise just a bit of patience like you've always done. Elders have come in to try and help us resolve whatever challenges that we may be facing. Again, like I said, the resolution from the meeting that we had with the Council of Elders was such that we allow for reconciliation and reinstatements of those positions that were taken away from some of our senior leaders before we can go to the convention. It's therefore with a new elephant in the room, these reconciliations will happen speedily so that we focus our attention on resolving challenges under Constitution Amendment Bill number 7. And lastly, we just want to preach love. I spoke about some of the sentiments that come from President Hakainde Hichilema whenever he's addressing the audience. We want to discourage him from doing that. We want to call upon President HH to project love. He's a father of the nation. He must be able to project love, preach forgiveness, and not play victim each time that he appears before a national television alleging that he's hated. If the Zambian people hated President Hakainde Hichilema, he would not have been given 2.8 million votes, 1 million votes ahead of his closest rival. Certainly, he cannot come 4 years later to claim that those same people hate him. So, Your Excellency the President, please, when you come before national television, our expectations are very high. You must project love. You must preach love and preach forgiveness going forward. So, Comrade Emmanuel Mwamba, those will be my final remarks.
My duty will be to thank you, Honorable Mundubile. Today we are hosting Honorable Brian Mundubile, former chairperson for Energy Regulation Board, is former minister in Northern Province, is former chief whip, is currently Mporokoso member of parliament serving a second term, and is one of the leading presidential candidates in the Patriotic Front. Thank you for spending time with us and for tackling and discussing all the issues, especially the alarm call you've raised around Bill 7. God bless you. And to our dear callers, I'm so sorry that we could only take so much because all my phones were inundated. But I think that the calls that we took, which many people of you are actually even many, were representative of all your calls that you wanted to go through. We have a lineup of more leaders lined up. Just tune in. And so from us here, God bless you and God bless our country.
Ngakamana ka red sea ka shupilo kwa bukapa chapa wa yabuka ndekweba muntu wa mirimo mweti Brani Mundubile
Bakwisa ferionse batu bepaika nga bapita fyabo nokutumva baleka pechikulu tule fwaya ifwe ni fesi furida na kwata na oda banine entungurushi PMH Brani Mundubile
we need the man of action no mutima uwakwete ko basata ukuchilo kuchula 5 years to 10 years out wa mipapata and I give you new Brani Mundubile
vyonse fintu aba bantu balesha baonaula tabawapo vyawamepo baishire fintu vyonse muchalo balionaula and I give you new BM80 Granny Mundubire
uyu muntu abombera abantu nontu kupoke fintu vyabantu amajela boys barifulwa amaminilos dibiri but kulya kantu enalepa mona akabombera po BM80 Granny Mundubire
amaritarisi balemi mona bashima famu balemi mona banakuluko kakeni chitenge beniko na baneno apo pa chitente Niloya na vision BM8 Granny Mundubire
we need the man of action no mutima owakwetako basata okuchiro kuchula 5 years to 10 years out wa mipapata and I give you new BM80 Granny Mundubire
wakufikisa vyonse fintu aba bantu balesha baonaula tabawapo vyawamepo baishire fintu vyonse muchalo balionaula and I give you new BM80 Granny Mundubire
kwenyu ndemwe chabe mabanja ona njala mkomo ndalama zonse mutumbalano masukwa kuchuluka pa mutupatu time is up kwenyu not enough time is up for your lies and bluff time is up kwenyu not enough time is up for your lies and bluff kani zanu ndizopanda pindu anakulira miseu mwatu tikufuna chilengede chatsopano osati mapocket anu opindika ndalama listen to the cries, they're louder than your lies. You can't silence the truth. It's time for the youth. Time is up. When you is not enough. Time is up. For your lies and bluff. Time is up. When you is not enough. Time is up. For your lies and bluff. We rise, we stand. We fight together for the children, for a better forever. When you kunata pano, we take the race. Tikonza jiko.
We bring you guests that challenge the narrative, unveil what power hides, and spark national debate, speaking truth to power, from the grassroots to the highest offices. EMV.